Hey everyone, I'm Greg Lord. I am vgmtogether's design lead and co-VR lead, and I wanted to take a minute to share my VGM backstory. I grew up playing video games. I got my first console that was mine at 5 years old, and got to sort of grow up watching the game franchises that we know today sort of become what they are. And I had a lot of friends that liked video games, but I think the thing that was sort of different for me was how much I sort of gravitated towards the music of games, and that wasn't so much a thing for my friends as it was for me. But growing up then, this is pre-internet, and your community is sort of just the neighborhood that you grow up in. So it was sort of just my thing, and it felt like it was just sort of something that only I cared about. But to listen to music, I sort of got creative and would take my Fisher Price cassette recorder. It's like an all-in-one little plastic sort of tape player and a little microphone attached to it. And I would sit in front of the TV and I'd put in my cassette and I'd hit record and I would just kind of turn on the game to the title screen or whatever level I wanted to record and just kind of sit there with the little microphone pointed at the screen for minutes, hours, and just assemble my little sort of DIY cassette tape game soundtracks. And this was totally normal to me. It turned out maybe not so normal to my friends. So I tried to like put these on when we would hang out, and just didn't really seem like it was quite everybody else's thing the way that it was mine. And that's fine, but it does sort of mean that for a long time it's just sort of felt like this was only my interest, and it kind of took until it got to be the age of the internet and discovering things like these online communities where people would post like MIDI files of game soundtracks, like people sort of like remakes of games in MIDI format, and I would download all of these and sit there and really geek out over them and how much time and effort people had put into these. And then, time and even more technology passes, and it gets to be things like OC Remix, and those kinds of things just blew me away because it was not only how good everything sounded, but the fact that people obviously loved this music enough to be making things like these. I had sort of taken little steps along the way into this where, at one point in time when there's things like eBay and I can go on and actually find import game soundtracks. I remember my first soundtrack showing up at my house, and it was Final Fantasy VI on 3 CDs, and a package in mostly Japanese text, and my parents sort of wondering what they had loaned me their credit card to buy. But yeah, I think all of these things were great. Finding these things online, finding these communities of people making music. I loved it. I listened to it all the time, and I was so grateful for it. But it was still sort of other people, like mysterious strangers on the internet, more than like a community that was mine. And for that, it finally took until going to Magfest for the first time. So I went to my first Magfest in 2016, and I remember getting there and just not really knowing what it was, but arriving and just seeing this giant hotel and convention center just full of music and full of video game artwork everywhere, everything sort of themed like Metroid, and panels going on about video games, people playing music, people dressed up as characters. Just everywhere I looked, it was just enthusiasm for the same stuff that I loved. And it really hit me when I went to my first concert there. I went to the I think it was called the Underground at the time. It was the sort of ground floor, almost kind of tucked away concert space. It was pretty late at night, and I arrived to see a metal band on their stage there playing Mega Man 2, which I promise was definitely one of my most played little cassettes back from that little 5 or 6 year old me sitting there figuring out the technology. And I'm just there, and I just see this entire crowd of people just jumping up and down, completely into it. And I realize, I mean, it just stunned me. I looked out over this group of people, and I was like, okay, here they all are at last. These are the people that love the same things I love, and look how much they love them. So, yeah, I feel like it was an interesting experience for me, mostly because I can be so shy at things like this, but that opened up this thing that really just made me want to connect with people, and it almost just cut right through that and was like, okay, this is important. These are your people. And ever since then, I just really wanted to try and find a way to sort of join that community, be part of that community, be a contributing part of that community. And I love to try to play music. I love to try to write music for, game projects with my friends and I. But mostly I've found opportunities with things like VGM Together to sort of try and, I guess, lend the things that I already do to this community. So the chance to be a graphic designer and a 3D modeler and a programmer for VGM Together has just been amazing and has really given me the chance to connect with so many people that I only knew from watching them play music and loving what they did to now being somebody that can hopefully be helpful to all of them. And the part of it that I think is the most rewarding is just the idea that, that connection moment for me was such a powerful thing, that the idea that, all of the people that I work with on this project feel that same way and are putting in all of this just amazing time and effort and creativity to try to create that moment for other people. So that's just always there in all the work that I do, that memory of how important that was, and the idea that, we build things like this so that other people can have that chance, and so that other people can meet these same people that sort of hopefully spark that same thing that I felt and that I try to hang on to. So thank you all for listening. I hope you have an awesome VGM Together. I'd love to meet and talk to all of you, and just have a great weekend. And I hope you get to check out our VR space and celebrate in a little sort of shrine to all things love of video games and music. So thank you.